In the 2017 NFL Draft, not one, not two, but 9 players were picked before Patrick Mahomes. That's right, 9 players were picked before the Kansas City Chiefs traded up to snag him. Today, we're going to roast those picks and the teams that made them, see how their careers turned out, and wonder how different life would have been if every team had perfect foresight. Hold on to your helmets, frenzies. We're about to venture into the absurdity that is the 2017 NFL Draft. Number 1, Myles Garrett, first overall, Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, in their infinite wisdom, grabbed the defensive end. Sure, they had a quarterback room like the Titanic post iceberg with Robert Griffin III, Josh McCown, and Cody Kessler, but defense first, right? In fairness, Garrett's been nothing short of phenomenal. A consistent Pro Bowler and a highlight reel of sacks and defensive feats. The man's basically the defensive MVP Cleveland never knew they needed. By 2021, he had 16 sacks in a single season, making him Cleveland's pass rushing sultan. He's become a franchise cornerstone, anchoring a defense that saw the Browns finally break their playoff drought in the 2020 season. When you think of game wreckers on defense, Garrett's name lights up like a neon sign in Vegas. Opposing quarterbacks probably have nightmares about facing him. His blend of speed, power, and sheer determination has made him one of the most feared pass rushers in the league. But let's not kid ourselves. While Garrett's prowess can't be downplayed, the Browns' quarterback situation might have improved exponentially with Mahomes slinging the pigskin instead. While Garrett has been a bright spot, the Browns have been through a carousel of quarterbacks, each riding in and out like a stint on a reality TV show. A little Mahomes magic might have given Cleveland fans something to cheer about a bit earlier. And let's face it, while defensive stars are great, quarterbacks are the king of the NFL. They get the glory, the endorsements, and, unfortunately for the Browns, the spotlight highlighting what's missing. Just imagine what Mahomes could have done with the weapons Cleveland eventually accumulated. The fortunes of Cleveland could have turned faster than you can say dog pound. Alas, Garrett's dominance keeps Browns fans somewhat consoled. Well, maybe just a bit. Number 2, Mitch Trubisky, second overall, Chicago Bears. Oh, Mitch. The Bears actually traded up for Trubisky, bypassing Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. Mike Ditka probably wept. All because Mitch had a semi-decent run at North Carolina. They thought he was Mr. Safe Pick. Analysts sounded like they were about to adopt Trubisky, raving about his accuracy, calmness, blah blah blah. Mitch's peak was the 2018 season, where he led the Bears to a 12-4 record before the double-doink playoff fiasco. Since then, he's been a glorified clipboard holder in Buffalo. After that fleeting moment of glory, things went downhill faster than a sled in an icy Chicago winter. Trubisky struggled with consistency, accuracy, and ultimately, keeping his job. He became the face of what could have been in Chicago, a consistent reminder of the franchise's perpetual search for their savior under center. Since then, he's been a glorified clipboard holder in Buffalo, backing up Josh Allen and largely watching the action from the sidelines. Imagine Mahomes orchestrating an offense backed by the 2018 Bears defense. That was one of the best defensive units in the league, featuring Khalil Mack terrorizing quarterbacks and a secondary that could shut down any passing attack. The Bears fans would have been crying tears of joy instead of regretful sighs. Can you picture it? Mahomes throwing no-look passes to a receiving core that included Allen Robinson, with a defense at his back ready to crush any comeback attempts by the opposition? The combination could have been iconic, perhaps even creating a dynasty in Chicago. Instead, Trubisky's tenure was a roller coaster of expectations and disappointments that never quite lived up to the hype. Yeah, chew on that deep dish, Chicago. Number 3, Solomon Thomas, third overall, San Francisco 49ers. A great defensive lineman out of Stanford, with a college resume shinier than a new Ferrari. He had 62 tackles and 8 sacks in his final season. But did that college promise transfer to the NFL? Let's say he peaked faster than a diet soda at a backyard barbecue. Thomas came into the league with high expectations. The 49ers were in the midst of a rebuild under new general manager John Lynch and head coach Kyle Shanahan, and Thomas was seen as a key piece to their defensive puzzle. Drafted that high, everyone expected him to be a transformational player, a cornerstone that could anchor their defense for years. Unfortunately, Thomas struggled with consistency while simultaneously getting overshadowed by more versatile talent like Nick Bosa and DeForest Buckner. His NFL career has been more like a disappearing act in a magic show. He bounced around the lineup, never really finding a role that suited him perfectly. His transition to the Raiders and then the Jets was more of the same, a promising start, but ultimately underwhelming performances. It also didn't help that he faced a personal tragedy early in his career, losing his sister to suicide. It's hard not to feel for the guy, as life threw more than just football challenges his way. However, on the gridiron, he never became the disruptive force everyone hoped he'd be. If the 49ers had selected Mahomes instead, with Shanahan as his play caller, who knows how many more Super Bowl runs they could have had by now. Mahomes, linked up with Shanahan's innovative offensive schemes, could have been the ultimate combo, a football symphony of sorts. The thought of Mahomes throwing darts to a lineup featuring players like George Kittle and Deebo Samuel is enough to make any Niners fan drool. But alas, San Francisco's quarterback carousel continued until they landed on Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. Number 4. Leonard Fournette, 4th overall, Jacksonville Jaguars. Welcome, Leonard could have been so much more Fournette. The Jaguars drafted him thinking he was the next Adrian Peterson. His college numbers were indeed killer, near 2,000 yards and enough touchdowns to make a Madden cover blush. But he fizzled faster than your New Year's resolution. Jacksonville, at the time, believed they were on the cusp of greatness. They had a bruiser in Fournette, who they thought would bulldoze their way to relevancy. Paired with a young, ferocious defense, Fournette was supposed to be the piece that completed their puzzle. His rookie season seemed to support this belief. He rushed over 1,000 yards, confirmed his status as a powerhouse running back, and contributed significantly to the Jags' Cinderella story, leading them to the AFC Championship game before it all went downhill. Injuries began to plague him, and whether it was his health or the revolving door of quarterbacks attempting to lead the team, Fournette's production began to dip. By 2020, the Jaguars decided to part ways, and Fournette found himself packing for Tampa Bay. It wasn't all doom and gloom, though. Joining forces with a guy named Tom Brady, Fournette revitalized his career and even snagged a Super Bowl ring. As successful as that chapter was, he was far from the star he was expected to be, playing more of a supportive role than a headline act. Imagine Mahomes in Jacksonville. With Mahomes' talent and the once promising Jaguars defense, Jacksonville might have dominated headlines for years, and not for turmoil or actor tweets. Hold this sad thought, and let's keep moving on. Number 5. Corey Davis, 5th overall, Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans must have thought they'd uncovered the next Jerry Rice with Corey Davis, a wide receiver who was meant to shine, but barely flickered. They needed a top-tier wide receiver for Marcus Mariota. Instead, they got a guy whose career read more like a medical journal. Davis entered the NFL with sky-high expectations after a phenomenal college career at Western Michigan, where he racked up yards and touchdowns like they were going out of style. The Titans dreamed of a receiving duo that would blaze past defenders and light up scoreboards. In practice, not so much. If injuries were a class, Davis would have a PhD. Hamstring? Yep. Hip? You bet. His career felt like one false start after another. Periods of brilliance were consistently interrupted by stints on the injured list. Even when he was on the field, he struggled to produce like a top 5 pick should. When A.J. Brown arrived in 2019 and became an instant sensation, Davis became the afterthought, the guy who might have been. By the time Davis's rookie contract was expiring, the Titans moved on to bigger and healthier hopes, waving goodbye to him as he signed with the New York Jets. Unfortunately for Davis and the Jets, injuries continued to plague him, and his career chapters continue to feel underwhelming. Titans fans have nightmares of Mahomes throwing bombs in two-tone blue. Imagine the possibilities. Mahomes at the helm, dissecting defenses, turning the Titans' offense into a juggernaut. Instead, they had Mariota. A valiant effort, but not Mahomes. It's a reminder that draft day decisions can ripple out for years. Number 6. Jamal Adams, 6th overall, New York Jets. The New York Jets chose Jamal, I'm a safety, not a quarterback, Adams. If the Jets' quarterback room was any more hopeless, they would have started auditioning ball boys. Adams was supposed to be a game changer, and early on, he delivered. He made Pro Bowls and was hailed as one of the top safeties in the league. Adams embodied the ideal defensive back, aggressive, confident, and versatile. Whether blitzing, covering, or stopping the run, he was everywhere. Through multiple Pro Bowl seasons, Adams gave Jets fans something to cheer about in an otherwise grim football landscape. However, the Jets' perpetual quarterback issues were like an anchor weighing the team down. Adams could do a lot, but he couldn't throw touchdowns, and he couldn't mask the deficiencies everywhere else. Then came the surprising trade to the Seahawks, a move that led to mixed results. In Seattle, Adams hasn't quite hit the same highs and struggled with injuries and adapting to a different system. Meanwhile, New York's quarterback chaos continued, and their most recent pick, Zach Wilson, turned into a huge failure. He's now with the Denver Broncos as a backup. Imagine instead the Jets took Mahomes. Picture those Hail Mary throws, turning the beleaguered Jets offense into a firework display. Broadway became Mahomes' court, lighting up the city with no-look passes and clutch comebacks. Teamed with Jamal Adams, that version of gangrene would be more Titanic scale than the iceberg-filled reality we saw. Number 7. Mike Williams, 7th overall, Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, devoted to Phillip Rivers and showing a complete lack of foresight, picked Mike Williams. Williams was heralded as an incredible talent, a deep threat wide receiver with the potential to transform their offense. Injuries haven't been kind, turning Williams into a walking question mark. From disc herniation to various knocks, only the medical chart could overshadow his talent. He had a moment of brilliance, towering over defenders, making sensational catches, before vanishing due to ailments. It's been a career of peaks and valleys, but there have been undeniable high points. In 2018, he recorded his best season yet, scoring 10 touchdowns. His ability to rise above defenders on jump balls and stretch the field with long receptions showcased why he was such an enticing prospect. However, repeating that success consistently has been his Achilles heel. Now, imagine Mahomes hurling those deep passes. Picture Keenan Allen under his command. The trio would have sent defensive coordinators into panic attacks during game week preparations. The hypothetical synergy could have been greater than the sum of its parts, pushing the Chargers to heights as electrifying as their powder blue jerseys. Chargers fans? They did find some solace in Justin Herbert. Herbert's arrival injected new life and hope into the franchise. Yet the lingering question of what if remains tied to the missed opportunity of Mahomes. Watching Mahomes destroy defenses, bombing passes to Allen in the air game? It's a Hollywood blockbuster left on the cutting room floor. Number 8. Christian McCaffrey, 8th overall, Carolina Panthers. Here's a rarity. No roasting necessary. The Panthers snagged CMC, and without an ounce of regret. McCaffrey bulldozed through defenses, performed circus-like catches, and pretty much carried their offense single-handedly. He's still breaking ankles for the 49ers, consistently proving that not all running backs are expendable. McCaffrey came into the league as a complete player, a dual threat capable of devastating defenses through ground or air. His rookie year hinted at brilliance, but his second year in 2018 made everyone sit up and take notice. He rushed for 1,098 yards, tallied another 867 through receptions, and scored 13 total touchdowns. In 2019, McCaffrey became just the third player in NFL history to rack up 1,000 yards, both rushing and receiving. He's not just a running back. McCaffrey is a wrecking ball wrapped in a slot receiver's skill set. Linebackers? Good luck keeping up. Defensive backs? Get ready to get outmaneuvered. His contributions were so invaluable, Carolina's entire offensive scheme seemed to hinge upon his resilience. Injuries in recent seasons have somewhat dampened his impact, yet, when healthy, McCaffrey remains one of the most electrifying and dynamic players in the league. Switching over to the 49ers? Well, that just added another dimension to an already potent offense. Considering the duration and impact he's had despite injuries, drafting McCaffrey has mostly been justified. Could Mahomes have succeeded in Carolina? Who knows, but it's one of those few picks where you can't complain. Drafting McCaffrey made sense. Panthers fans, enjoy CMC's highlight reel, but always keep that what if. What if Mahomes danced in the end zone in Carolina colors? Is Bryce Young the answer? Only time will tell. Number 9. John Ross, 9th overall, Cincinnati Bengals. The human torpedo whose 4.22-second 40-yard dash made him look promising. Well, his NFL career wasn't worth those seconds. Plagued by injuries and inconsistency, Ross became a footnote quicker than an Oscar speech cutoff. His time with the Bengals became a tale of missed opportunities and squandered potential. Ross's college career at Washington was nothing short of electrifying. His blazing speed and dynamic passing style turned scouts' heads, making him one of the most buzzed-about prospects in the draft. The Bengals envisioned a world where Ross's speed would stretch defenses, open up the field, and create mismatches galore. Injuries immediately threw a wrench into those plans. From knee injuries to shoulder woes, Ross couldn't catch a break. His rookie year was almost a wash, and in subsequent seasons, flashes of the playmaking ability that made him a top 10 pick were overshadowed by his constant battles to stay on the field. By the time Joe Burrow and T. Higgins became the core of Cincinnati's offensive revitalization, Ross was an afterthought, struggling to find his place in a new era for the Bengals. With Mahomes, Cincy could have dominated way before Burrow. They went through numerous painful seasons until Burrow arrived to lift spirits. Ross's presence in those seasons serves as a reminder of challenging draft day outcomes. So there you have it, frenzies. That's the 9 players selected before Patrick Mahomes. Other than some respectable selections like Garrett and CMC, the 2017 draft reads like a tragic comedy best-selling novel. Chiefs fans, bask in that draft day brilliance. For others, regret buffet, fresh and cold. Hop into the comments and let us know, would Carolina be better with Mahomes or happy with CMC?